Currently, when inventory planning is generated, it looks at all the supply and demand in the system and processes a plan. So no matter how far in the future you have supply and demand, it considers all of it. Customers that have a large amount of supply and demand data don't need or want to process these plans if they're in the distant future because they want to reduce processing time and also don't want to take any action against those plans. For example, a furniture company receives 9 to 18 months in advance to produce floor models for the next calendar year for its distributors. The same company also receives demand from the same distributors for configured orders that must ship within weeks to months. The longest lead time for any manufactured or purchased item is 4 months. The planner at the company processes regenerate inventory planning every day, and the process can take up to 10 hours to complete. Since the longest lead time for an item is 4 months, the planner is really only interested in ensuring demand is met for the next 6 months, leaving a buffer of 2 months for variation in the supply chain. The planner would like a way to exclude supply and demand plans that exist over 6 months in the future to reduce processing time. With 2024 R1, we've introduced a planning horizon value on inventory planning preferences, and this allows the user to determine which plans they want to include or exclude based on dates. And by including or by excluding item plans to process, this reduces the amount of data that processes, which in turn reduces processing time. Let me show you. On inventory planning preferences and in the general section, we've introduced the planning horizon. What this means is that the inventory regeneration process will only consider supply and demand on or before the regenerate date, plus the number of days specified in the planning horizon field. If the value is 0, then this includes all plans, regardless of their date. When you upgrade, this will default to 0, as this is what the system does today. So, if I run inventory planning and I set the planning value to 30, then all sales orders and purchase orders, transfer orders, production orders, etc. beyond 30 days will be excluded. So for now, let's leave this value at 0. I have a customer that ordered 3 floor model couches to use when they're staging houses. They don't need these couches until October 31st. When we regenerated inventory planning, which I've already done, you can see the suggestion to produce this item in October. But I really don't want to see this suggestion since it's so far out. In fact, I actually don't need to see anything that's further than 90 days out. I'm going to change my planning horizon to 90 days. Now, when I regenerate inventory planning, and I look at my inventory planning display, then my couch is no longer showing, and that's because the sales order is out past 90 days. Okay, so just a reminder, the planning horizon is set to 0 when you upgrade to preserve existing functionality. Also, when you're setting this value, make sure you evaluate your longest lead time items to make sure it's going to give you your planning suggestions for those long lead time items. We also changed the names of the MPS time fence to MPS time fence for more clarity.